Hi, welcome. This is Laura from the CCSA. Wanted to, we'll start in just a few minutes. If you haven't called in, you'll need to call into the toll-free number there, or you can enable the audio connection on your computer if you know how to do that. All right, we're going to start our webinar in just a minute. We've got somebody else texting me right now. They're trying to get in, so we'll start in just a moment. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. Cole, I'm going to hand it over to you now, and we'll go ahead and get started. I want to thank PayMetrix for hosting this webinar. I'm just happy my boss is not on this webinar. It looks like Ed is the only person with us right now. So, Ed, this is your one-man show here. So we'll get going, and I'll let Cole and Greg take over.
Okay, thanks, Laura. And Ed, I want to thank you for joining the call and allowing us the opportunity to talk to you a little bit about termination and the proper steps to terminate an employee, whether it be voluntary or involuntary. As Laura said, my name is Cole Lumpkin, and I'm with PayMetrix. Greg Hatzel is going to be joining us in a little bit. He is the HR director at PayMetrix. So with that being said, I'm going to tell you a tad bit about who PayMetrix is. We're based in Alpharetta, Georgia, and we are a boutique payroll and HR firm that offers payroll and HR among many other services. At PayMetrix, we help employers manage the risk of having employees from pre-hire to post-retire, or in this case, post-fire. So from pre-hire to post-retire, employers are afforded the ability to use one common database to control their HR and payroll functions. And today we are going to focus on obviously the HR side. So a few of our HR services, employers can actually utilize 3 different HR services from us, and those services are HR outsourcing, Human Resource Information System, or HRIS, which that is part of our payroll and HR software, and our HR Now online library, which is also part of our payroll software. But today we're going to focus on 2 of these solutions, and that's going to be HR outsourcing and HRIS, and how termination kind of goes hand in hand with that. Okay, HR outsourcing. So with HR outsourcing, certified HR professionals to work for you, the employer. That's what we provide to the employer. Greg and our team of HR consultants comes in and kind of does the audit and works with you, the employer, to make your company as reliable, follow the rules, so forth and so on. We also use a customized and strategic HR program with unlimited consultations, meetings, and training. Those meetings can take place via the phone, web, or even on site. One of the first things that we do, we come in and design an employee handbook. We implement policies and procedures for the manual, and we also use our HR best practices, which those are all customized to your organization. The other service that I wanted to focus on is HRIS, or Human Resource Information Systems. So payroll and HR, they are all in one database. This software system eliminates duplicate entries or imports for your employees while allowing you to build and maintain a reliable HRIS platform. You can keep up with many reports from our HR library, over 20 HR reports, comprehensive employer tracking, and reporting of vital employee information, including performance reviews, employee ratings tracker, benefits, licenses for your employees, their skills, injuries, company property, and much, much more. So with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to our HR Director, Greg Hatzel, who is going to give you guys a tutorial on termination and how to do that the right way. So with that being said, Greg.
Thank you, Cole. Hey, Ed, how are you doing? Oh, that's right. I'm sorry, you guys are muted. My bad. Well, my name is Greg Hatzel, and like Cole said, I'm the Director of Human Resources for PayMetrix and StaffMetrix HR here in Alpharetta. And hello?
You're still on. Sorry, people will beep as they come in.
Oh, that's fine. Okay, thanks. So I wanted to talk a little bit today about termination as part of the HR world. There's so many things that go on in the HR world, but this is kind of one that as a small business owner, a lot of folks don't really realize how much trouble you can get into, how easy it is to go against Department of Labor, EEOC. I'm not there yet. So we'll go through, and then this is a high level. If anybody needs some additional information or wants some help or some guidance, please feel free to give me a call, and you can get a hold of me through Laura or Dana. I did not put my number on this, but I can put it out there at the end of the series, so you have it on the recording. So, trying to double click here. Step one in any termination is to be prepared for that termination. And I know that a lot of times, and I've been in the situation that something happens that you just want to fire somebody on the spot. My recommendation is never fire anyone on the spot. There's generally way too much emotion wrapped up in firing someone on the spot. If you want them out of your establishment, ask them to leave and come back the next day for a meeting. And with that, you want to be prepared for that meeting. Plan what to say. You want to have everything ready before the discussion, all your documentation. So if this has been an ongoing issue, such as attendance or poor customer service or the register coming up short, just to name a few, you make sure that you document those. I highly recommend when it's issues like that you do a 3-step documentation process, which is going to be a verbal, which is documented. You have them sign it, and it's a verbal agreement. And again, I've got all kinds of templates if anybody wants those, or I can direct you to websites. Then you have a minimum of at least 1 written. I think to cover yourself, have 2. In the first written, you're going to want to put a performance plan together for them. So, if it's, again, let's just use that the register, the till is coming up short by $5 every time a person works a shift, then, you're going to put it into place that somebody has to verify the cash funds prior to leaving somebody else, or, whatever kind of steps. And then, if it gets to the third one, at that point you can have a termination meeting and let that employee go. Or you can, if you think it's just something that is distracting that employee for whatever reason, or there's a personal issue that's happening, that's why they can't get to work on time all the time, you can give them 1 more. And of course you can give them as many as you want, but just remember that you have to be fair across the board. So whatever that policy is going to be, then you need to do that across the board so that you're not violating EEOC and you're not discriminating against one employee to the other. Okay, so make sure that you are prepared. Have everything that you're going to need. Have everything that you're going to need. Know, if you're going to have to deal with COBRA, any kind of severance pay, if you're going to help with any kind of outplacement counseling. Have to make sure that you've got a list of any company assets that need to be returned. If you have any kind of, if there's any kind of unused paid time off, reimbursable company expenses, just make sure, however you've got your organization structured, that you have all that. Now, some states require that upon termination you have to give final pay. So also be prepared for that. Have that check ready. And then also you'll want to make sure that you go ahead and go to your state government website if you're doing this yourself, or have your, if you're outsourcing your HR, make sure that you give them that information, and or you print off the separation notice, and you have the employee sign that separation note. You fill it out and have them sign it, you sign it, and that's what most states require if they decide that they want to go for unemployment. Okay, so that would be in an involuntary case where maybe it's a layoff. There was no disciplinary action in there. So whether it is a voluntary or involuntary termination, just make sure that you are prepared and know what you're going to say, and be prepared to answer all the typical types of questions an employee may ask. Okay? I also recommend, I'm going to move to the next slide here. I also recommend that you have another person present, especially if you're terminating the opposite gender of you. Just have another person present who can bear witness, if you will, to what the conversations were, how it went, if there was any kind of negative, argumentative tones, or slurs, or any conversations like that, so it can be documented and witnessed. If an HR representative is unavailable, or if you're not outsourcing that, ensure another manager is present, or at least somebody in another supervisory role, because this sets 2 sets of eyes and ears and notes if necessary in case of later allegations. Okay, so I would always recommend that you have another person present. Also remember, however you've handled this in the past, this is not on the slide, it's just a recommendation, how you handled terminations in the past. Again, it goes to that, if you terminated somebody for violating the attendance rule, but you're letting somebody else get away with it, that could come back to get you. You got to be consistent. And Cole actually just brought up a really good point. That's why an employee handbook, which is get a little bit later down the line here, but that's why an employee handbook is so important. You got to establish some kind of policies. So let's see, step 4 being conscientious of timing, as well as where you conduct the termination. Remember that these are human beings, and everybody has emotions, and so you want to make sure. This goes back to please don't fire on the spot if you can help it. But you just want to be conscious of when you're doing it. So I recommend, if you're going to have a meeting, have it at the start of their shift. You don't want to do it at the end of their shift. That makes people feel like you just used them for that day. So be very conscientious to the timing. It's best to conduct the termination, again, I think, towards the beginning of the shift. But if you do it at the end of the day, or when you're fairly certain the employee will be able to collect his or her belongings without an audience, that helps. So again, you're just going to want to know your environment. It's also just it's really good to conduct a termination if you're going to do it, if you're planning on the termination during the first part of the week, like Monday through Wednesday. This gives the employee time to begin the job search or apply for unemployment. Please never notify somebody in a public place or where the discussion can be overheard or seen by other employees. Just try to respect the dignity of that employee, because I don't know if you've ever been fired. I have, and you already feel bad enough. So you want to make it as streamlined and as quick as possible. Move my mouse here again. Step 5, get to the point. Again, this is where it's going to be streamlined. Keep the meeting short and focused, 10 to 15 minutes at the most, because you're already going to be prepared from step 1. During the discussion, try to use the facts and tell the employee why he or she is no longer working for your organization. Let the employee know that the decision is final. That helps to stop that please, please, please. And indicate when the termination is effective. So it's typically right then. Don't defend or blame yourself or the organization. And do not get into confrontation or debates or anything like that with the employee. Just remain very calm. Some people are going to get very emotional. Some people are going to know it's coming. Some people are going to just get mad and say, fine, thank you, and leave. Just get right to the point. If you've got any COBRA information you need to give them, make sure you give them the separation notice and allow them a minute to collect any of their personal belongings that they have. Step number 6, excuse me, that should say ensure that only personal property leaves the building. So most people know this, but typically you want to walk them out. If they have laptops, make sure that you get those. If they've got any personal documents, pictures, purses, coats, any of that kind of stuff, make sure that only personal items leave the building. If appropriate, change or disable any security passwords on your computers, access to emails, any PIN numbers, bank access, transfers, locks, that kind of stuff. So you'll have to make that call within your own organization. Step 7, again, HR, terminating employees, and a lot of other things. Document, document, document. Whether you do it in a Word document, you want to utilize me as a resource. I can give you some templates that you can customize for yourself. You can go online, or you can handwrite it. Just make sure that it's documented. So document the meeting that you had and communicate all the essentials of the employee's departure. If you have HR or you're outsourcing, follow up with them, confirming the details of your conversation. It may be necessary to refer back to the document at a later date, and immediately inform the other coworkers that this person is no longer with the organization. But please don't go into details about that. Let's see. Lost my mouse there for a minute.
The conference has been muted.
This kind of goes back to what Cole was talking about as far as having some kind of policies and procedures or a handbook. I recommend a handbook, but you want to have a clear company policy regarding references and understanding how to handle employment verifications. So the employee is going to go out and they're going to use you as a former employer on their resume or on their application. So that's a reference and or whatever company they get a possible job offer to. They may or may not do employment verification. So they'll be calling you. What I recommend is that if you get a letter or a request for reference or a employment verification, list the dates of employment. You can give rate of pay if they ask, but no information as to that would reflect upon the employee's personality, their job performance, any kind of negative, because that will come back to get you if the employee finds out about that. I have in the past had to terminate employees that were great people. It was just the wrong job or the wrong position for them. So in those cases, if they want to use me as a business reference, absolutely. And I will talk specifically to their skills and their capabilities that I saw. But it'll be one of those situations where it just wasn't the right fit. That had nothing to do with attendance or violation of policies, that kind of thing. So you just don't want to go negative on that. But again, if you have a clear policies and procedures handbook of some sort, that will cover you in many other things other than termination. So you can have a drug-free and alcohol-free workplace policy in there, any kind of attendance policies, dress code policies, anything that's specific to your organization that you may have, like cell phone policies, Facebook, social media policies, email policies, but anything that within your culture and in your organization that you have that you want clearly understood by the employees, that these are our policies, and if you deviate from those policies, you can get in trouble. And it's not all negative. I'll give you an example. I have a client who, against my better judgment, has kegs at work. It's an IT client, and they have kegs of beer at work. So I couldn't write an alcohol-free policy, but I had to write a policy around how much you could drink at work. That was a new one on me. So so whatever your culture is, what's your procedures or what's your policy on employee discounts, that kind of thing. So just a recommendation there. It'll help with many other possible pitfalls that small business owners get into that can unfortunately wreak havoc. So those are really the kind of the clear-cut 9 steps. Be prepared. Understand the emotions of the employee, be firm, explain to them why it's happening, give them the proper paperwork, and move on from there. Again, get any kind of company assets, change any locks you need to change, inform the other employees, and make sure that you've got all your documentation. So I don't know, Laura, if you want to open it up at this point for questions, or because I didn't see any questions come over the chat.
The conference has been unmuted.
I've just opened it up and unmuted you all. So if you have any questions, anyone, for Cole or for Greg, feel free to ask them now.
Hey, you guys, and for everybody here, I'm a firm believer in a slow hire and a fast fire. So just keep that in mind. I mean, that's just, I know a lot of times you're in a bind, and the first person that walks in the door that looks like they can possibly do the job, that's great. But if you can do it a little bit slower than that, I think you'll end up not having to fire or terminate. But if you do, make it quick and be prepared.
Dana and Veronica, I guess one thing, currently it's your studio. Are there certain issues or problems that you guys are having that you would, like addressed and need help on, need some clarification on how to handle those problems? Or, I mean, just kind of wanted to throw that out there and see if you guys currently had any issues that we could, offer advice on.
And they may have us on mute at this point.
Do what, Laura?
They may have us on mute at this point.
Okay.
All right. Well, if there's no other questions, and once again, I'm happy Dina did not join, so she doesn't know how to fire me now. And I want to thank Cole and Greg for putting this together. I know this has been a hot topic on our chatter site, so if you have some questions for them that you did not get out, or you think of something afterwards, you can always log on to the CPSA website, go to suppliers, and find them on there, and you'll be able to email them directly. And thanks, Dana, for your comment there. So she said, thank you, great information. So good job, guys. I'm going to stop the recording now. This webinar will be recorded, or as soon as I get the download, I'll post it. If you want to listen again or you missed parts of it, I'll post it. And there's a survey at the end. I need to remind you to take a moment, and it's only 2 questions, so if you'll take a moment when you log out of this. And thank you, guys. PayMetrix has been great, a great supporter of the CCSA, so I wanted to thank you guys for coming in on spring break and helping us out.
Yeah, and, not a problem. Thanks for having us. And again, I did want to, Dana and Veronica, if you have any any questions, feel free to email Greg and I, and we'll put our email address on the chatter page. And if you want any documents as far as anything HR, anything that has to do with HR, if you need any documents, PDF files, anything like that, we'll be glad to send you what we have that can kind of help you. In the process of firing somebody.
Thank you.
So yep. With that being said, you guys have a great day and have a great rest of the week, and we'll be here if you need us.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, Laura.
Bye.
Bye-bye.